Good afternoon, everyone. We will be reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're on the chapter titled Advice to the Brahmos. And if you're following along in your copy of the Gospel, it's page 210. We'll start Sunday, April 15th, 1883. Surendra, a beloved lay disciple of the Master, had invited him to his house on the auspicious occasion of the Annapurna Puja. It was about 6 o'clock when Sri Ramakrishna arrived there with some of his devotees. The image of the Divine Mother had been installed in the worship hall. At her feet lay hibiscus flowers and bilwa leaves. From her neck hung a garland of flowers. Sri Ramakrishna entered the hall and bowed down before the image. Then he went to the open courtyard, where he sat on a carpet surrounded by his devotees and disciples. A few bolsters lay on the carpet, which was covered with a white linen sheet. He was asked to lean against one of these, but he pushed it aside. Master to the devotees, to lean on a bolster? You see, there's this footnote on this. Rich and aristocratic people seeking comfort generally sit in this fashion. To lean on a bolster, you see, it is very difficult to give up vanity. You may discriminate, saying that the ego is nothing at all. But still it comes. Nobody knows from where. A goat's legs jerk for a few moments, even after its head has been cut off. Or perhaps you are frightened in a dream. You shake off sleep and are wide awake, but you still feel your heart palpitating. Egotism is exactly like that. You may drive it away, but still it appears from somewhere. Then you look sullen and say, "What? I have not been shown proper respect?" Kedar. One should be lowlier than a straw and patient as a tree. Master, as for me, I consider myself as a speck of the dust of the devotees' feet. Vaidyanatha arrived. He was a well-educated man, a lawyer of the High Court of Calcutta. With folded hands, he saluted the Master and took his seat at one side. Surendra to the Master, he is one of my relatives. Master, yes, I see he has a nice nature. Surendra, he has come here because he wants to ask you a question or two. Master to Vaidyanatha, all that you see is the manifestations of God's power. No one can do anything without this power. But you must remember that there is not an equal manifestation of God's power in all things. Vidyasagar once asked whether God endowed some with greater power than others. I said to him, if there were no greater and lesser manifestations of his power, then why would we have taken the trouble to visit you? Have you grown two horns? So it stands to reason that God exists in all beings as the all-pervasive power, but the manifestations of his power are different in different beings. Vaidyanatha, sir, I have a doubt. People speak of free will. They say that a man can do either good or evil according to his will. Is it true? Are we really free to do whatever we like? Master, everything depends on the will of God. The world is his play. He has created all these different things, great and small, strong and weak, good and bad, virtuous and vicious. This is all his Maya, his sport. You must have observed that all the trees in a garden are not of the same kind. As long as a man has not realized God, he thinks he is free. It is God himself who keeps this error in man. Otherwise, sin would have multiplied. man would not have been afraid of sin, and there would have been no punishment for it. But do you know the attitude of one who has realized God? He feels, I am the mechanic, and thou, O Lord, art the operator. I am the house, and thou art the indweller. I am the chariot, and thou art the driver. I move as thou movest me. I speak as thou makest me speak. To Voisinot, it is not good to argue. Isn't that so? Voisinot, yes, sir. The desire to argue disappears when a man attains wisdom. The master, out of his stock of a dozen English words, said, "Thank you," in the most charming way, and all laughed. Master to Voisinot, you will make spiritual progress. People don't trust a man when he speaks about God. Even if a great soul affirms that he has seen God, still the average person will not accept his words. He says to himself, if this man has really seen God, then let him show him to me. But can a man learn to feel a person's pulse in one day? He must go about with the physician for many days. Only then can he distinguish the different pulses. He must be in the company of those with whom the examination of the pulse has become a regular profession. Can anyone and everyone pick out a yarn of a particular count? If you are in that trade, you can distinguish in a moment a 40-count thread from a 41. The kirtan was about to begin. Some Vaishnavas were seated on one side with their mridangas and cymbals. A drummer began to play on his instrument preparatory to the singing. The sweet and melodious sound of the mridanga filled the courtyard, calling to mind the ecstatic kirtan of Sri Gauranga. The master passed into a deep spiritual state. Now and then he looked at the drummer and said, "Ah, my hair is all standing on end." The singers asked what kind of song they should sing. The master said humbly, "Something about Gauranga, if you please." The kirtan began. They sang about the celestial beauty of Sri Gauranga. The beauty of Gauranga's face grows brighter than the brightest gold. His smile illumines all the world. Who cares for even 1,000,000 moons shining in the autumn sky? The chief musician had improvised lines as they sang. "O friend, his face shines like the full moon, but it does not wane, nor has it any stain. It illumines the devotee's heart." Again he improvised, "His face is bathed with the essence of 1,000,000 moons." At this, the master went into deep samadhi. After a short while, he regained consciousness of the sense world. Then he suddenly stood up, overpowered by his spiritual mood, and sang improvised lines with the professionals, thinking himself to be a milkmaid of Vrindavan gone mad with the beauty of Sri Krishna's form. Whose fault is it, my mind's or his beauty's? In these 3 worlds I see nothing but my beloved Krishna. The master danced and sang. All remained spellbound as they watched. The chief musician sang the words of a gopi. "O flute, pray stop. Can you not go to sleep?" One of the musicians added a new line. "How can it sleep? It rests on Krishna's lips." The master sat down. The music went on. They sang, assuming the mood of Radha. "My eyes are blinded, my ears are deaf. I have lost the power of smell. All my senses are paralyzed. But alas, why am I left alone?" Finally, the musicians sang of the union of Radha and Krishna. Radha and Krishna are joined at last in the Nidu grove of Vrindavan. Incomparable their beauty, and limitless their love. The one half shines like yellow gold, the other like bluest sapphire. Round the neck on one side, a wildflower garland hangs, and on the other, there swings a necklace of precious gems. A ring of gold adorns one ear, a ring of shell the other. Half of the brow is bright as the blazing midday sun. The other softly gleams in the glow with the glow of the rising moon. Upon one half of the head, a graceful peacock feather stands, and from the other half, there hangs a braid of hair. As the music came to a close, the master said, Bhagavata, Bhakta, Bhagavan, and bowed low to the devotees seated on all sides. He touched with his forehead the ground made holy by the singing of the sacred music. It was now 9:30 in the evening. Surendra entertained the master and the devotees with a sumptuous feast. This is actually what always happens on Annapurna Puja. She gives unending amounts of food to devotees. When it was time to take leave of their host, the master, the devotees, and Surendra entered the worship hall and stood before the image. Surendra to the master, no one has sung anything about the Divine Mother today. Master pointing to the image, look at the beauty of the hall. The light of the Divine Mother seems to have lighted the whole place. Such a sight fills the heart with joy. Grief and desire for pleasure disappear. But can one not see God as formless reality? Of course one can, but not if one has the slightest trace of worldliness. The rishis of olden times renounced everything and then contemplated Satchidananda, the indivisible Brahman. The Brahmagyanis of modern times, this is a reference to the Brahmo Samaj, sing of God as immutable, homogeneous. It sounds very dry to me. It sounds as if the singers themselves don't enjoy the sweetness of God's bliss. One doesn't want a refreshing drink made with sugar candy if one is satisfied with mere coarse treacle. Just see how happy you are looking at this image of the deity. But those who always cry after the formless reality do not get anything. They realize nothing either inside or outside. The master sang a song to the Divine Mother. O Mother, ever blissful as thou art, do not deprive thy worthless child of bliss. My mind knows nothing but thy lotus feet. The king of death scowls at me terribly. Tell me, Mother, what shall I say to him? It was my heart's desire to sail my boat across the ocean of this mortal life. O Durga, with thy name upon my lips, I never dreamt that thou wouldst drown me here in the dark waters of this shoreless sea. Both day and night I swim among its waves, chanting thy saving name. Yet even so there is no end, O Mother, to my grief. If I am drowned this time in such a plight, no one will ever chant thy name again. Again he sang, Repeat, O my mind, my Mother Durga's hallowed name. Whoever treads the path repeating Durga, Durga. Shiva himself protects with his mighty trident. Thou art the day, O Mother. Thou art the dusk and the night. Sometimes thou art man, and sometimes woman art thou. Thou mayest even say to me, Step aside, go away, yet I shall cling to thee, O Durga. Unto thy feet as thine anklets I shall cling, making the tinkling sound, Mother, when as the kite thou soarest in the sky, there in the water beneath, as a minnow I shall be swimming. Upon me thou wilt pounce and pierce me through with thy claws. Thus, when the breath of life forsakes me in thy grip, do not deny me the shelter of thy lotus feet. The master saluted the divine image. As he came down the steps, he called softly to Rakal, "Where are my shoes? Are they missing?" As the master got into the carriage, Surendra and the other devotees bowed down before him. Then the carriage started for Dakshineshwar. The moon still lighted the streets. Any questions or points of discussion so far? Okay. Chapter 10, The Master with the Brahmo Devotees, Part 2. April 22nd, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna paid a visit to Beni Madhav Pal's garden house at Sinti, near Calcutta, on the occasion of the semi-annual festival of the Brahmo Samaj. Many devotees of the Samaj were present and sat around the master. Now and then some of them asked him questions. A Brahmo devotee: "Sir, what is the way?" Master: "Attachment to God, or, in other words, love for him. And secondly, prayer." Brahmo devotee: "Which one is the way, love or prayer?" Master: "First love, then prayer." The master sang, "Cry to your mother Shyama with a real cry, O mind, and how can she hold herself from you? How can Shyama stay away?" Continuing, the master said, one must always chant the name and glories of God and pray to him. An old metal pot must be scrubbed every day. What is the use of cleaning it only once? Further, one must practice discrimination and renunciation. One must be conscious of the unreality of this world. Brahmo: "Is it good to renounce the world?" Master: "Not for all. Those who have not yet come to the end of their enjoyments should not renounce the world. Can one get drunk on 2 annas worth of wine?" Brahmo: "Then they should lead a worldly life?" Master: "Yes. They should try to perform their duties in a detached way. Before you break open the jackfruit, rub your hands with oil so that the sticky milk will not smear them. The maidservant in a rich man's house performs all her duties, but her mind dwells on her home in the country. This is an example of doing duty in a detached way. You should renounce the world only in mind, but a sannyasi should renounce the world both inwardly and outwardly." Brahmo: "What is the meaning of the end of enjoyments?" Master: "I mean the enjoyment of lust and greed. It is risky to put a typhoid patient in a room where pitchers of water and jugs of pickled tamarind are kept. Most people don't feel any longing for God unless they have once passed through the experience of wealth, name, fame, creature comforts, and the like. That is to say, unless they have seen through these enjoyments." Brahmo: "Oh, this one's a good one. Who is really bad, man or woman?" Master: "As there are women endowed with Vidya Shakti, so also there are women with Avidya Shakti. A woman endowed with spiritual attributes leads a man to God, but a woman who is the embodiment of delusion makes him forget God and drowns him in the ocean of worldliness. The universe is created by the Mahamaya of God. Mahamaya contains both Vidyamaya, the illusion of knowledge, and Avidyamaya, the illusion of ignorance. Through the help of Vidyamaya, one cultivates such virtues as the taste for holy company, knowledge, devotion, love, and renunciation. Avidyamaya consists of the 5 elements and the objects of the 5 senses: form, flavor, smell, touch, and sound. These make one forget God. Brahmo. If the power of avidya is the cause of ignorance, then why has God created it? Master. That is his play. The glory of light cannot be appreciated without darkness. Happiness cannot be understood without misery. Knowledge of good is possible because of knowledge of evil. Further, the mango grows and ripens on account of the covering skin. You throw away the skin when the mango is fully ripe and ready to be eaten. It is possible for a man to attain gradually to the knowledge of Brahman because of the covering skin of Maya. Maya, in its aspects of vidya and avidya, may be likened to the skin of the mango. Both are necessary. Brahmo. Is it good to worship God with form, an image of the deity made of clay? Master, you do not accept God with form. That is all right. The image is not meant for you. For you it is good to deepen your feeling toward your own ideal. From the worshippers of the personal God, you should learn their yearning. For instance, Krishna's attraction for Radha. You should learn from the worshippers of the personal God their love for their chosen ideal. When the believers in the personal God worship the images of Kali and Durga, with what feeling they cry from the depths of their souls, "Mother, O Mother," how much they love the deity. You should accept that feeling. You don't have to accept the image. Brahmo. How does one cultivate the spirit of dispassion? Why don't all attain it? Master, dispassion is not possible unless there's a satiety through enjoyment. You can easily cajole a small child with candies or toys, but after eating the candies and finishing its play, it cries, "I want to go to my mother." Unless you take the child to its mother, it will throw away the toy and scream at the top of its voice. The members of the Brahmo Samaj are opposed to the traditional guru system of Orthodox Hinduism. Therefore, the Brahmo devotees asked the master about it. Brahmo, is spiritual knowledge impossible without a guru? Master, Satchidananda alone is the guru. If a man in the form of a guru awakens spiritual consciousness in you, then know for certain that it is God the Absolute who has assumed that human form for your sake. The guru is like a companion who leads you by the hand. After the realization of God, one loses the distinction between the guru and the disciple. That creates a very difficult situation. There, the guru and the disciple do not see each other. It was for this reason that Janaka said to Sukadev, "Give me first my teacher's fee if you want me to initiate you into the knowledge of Brahman." For the distinction between the teacher and the disciple ceases to exist after the disciple attains to Brahman. The relationship between them remains as long as the disciple does not see God. It was dusk. Some of the Brahmo devotees said to the master, "Perhaps it is time for your evening devotions?" Master, "No, it isn't exactly that. One should pass through these disciplines in the beginning. Later, one doesn't feel the need of rituals, the rituals of formal worship, or to follow the injunctions. After dusk, the preacher of the Brahmo Samaj conducted the service from the pulpit. The service was interspersed with recitations from the Upanishads and the singing of Brahmo songs. After the service, the master and the preacher conversed. Master: well, it seems to me that both the formless deity and God with form are real. What do you say? Preacher: Sir, I compare the formless God to the electric current, which is not seen with the eyes but can be felt. Master: yes, both are true. God with form is as real as God without form. Do you know what describing God as being formless only is like? It is like a man's playing only a monotone on his flute, though it has 7 holes. But on the same instrument, another man plays different melodies. Like in how many ways the believers in a personal God enjoy him. They enjoy him through many different attitudes. The serene attitude, the attitude of a servant, a friend, a mother, a husband, or a lover. You see, the thing is somehow or other to get into the lake of the nectar of immortality. Suppose one gets into it by propitiating the deity with hymns and worship, and you were pushed into it. The result will be the same. Both of you will certainly become immortal. I give the Brahmos the illustration of water and ice. Satchidananda is like an endless expanse of water. The water of the great ocean in cold regions freezes into blocks of ice. Similarly, through the cooling influence of divine love, Satchidananda assumes forms for the sake of the bhaktas. The rishis had the vision of the supersensuous spirit form and talked with it, but devotees acquire a love body, and with its help they see the spirit form of the Absolute. It is also said in the Vedas that Brahman is beyond mind and words. The heat of the sun of knowledge melts the ice-like form of the personal God. On attaining the knowledge of Brahman and communing with it in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one realizes Brahman, the infinite, without form or shape and beyond mind and words. The nature of Brahman cannot be described. About it, one remains silent. Who can explain the infinite in words? However high a bird may soar, there are regions higher still. What do you say? We'll read just a little further because we're ending this day. Preacher: yes, sir, it is so stated in the Vedanta philosophy. Master: once a salt doll went to the ocean to measure its depth, but it could not come back to give a report. According to one school of thought, sages like Shukadev saw and touched the ocean of Brahman, but did not plunge into it. Once I said to Vidyasagar, everything else but Brahman has been polluted, as it were, like food touched by the tongue. In other words, no one has been able to describe what Brahman is. A thing once uttered by the tongue becomes polluted. Vidyasagar, great pundit though he was highly pleased with my remarks. It is said that there are places near Kedar, it's in the Himalayas, that are covered with eternal snow. He who climbs too high cannot come back. Those who have tried to find out what there is in the higher regions or what one feels there have not come back to tell us about it. After having seen the vision of God, man is overpowered with bliss. He becomes silent. Who will speak? Who will explain? The king lives beyond 7 gates. At each gate sits a man endowed with great power and glory. At each gate the visitor asks, "Is this the king?" The gatekeeper answers, "No, not this, not this." The visitor passes through the 7th gate and becomes overpowered with joy. He is speechless. This time he doesn't have to ask, "Is this the king?" The mere sight of him removes all doubts. Preacher: Yes, sir, it is so described in Vedanta. Master: When the Godhead is thought of as creating, preserving, and destroying, it is known as the personal God, Saguna Brahman, or the primal energy, Adya Shakti. Again, when it is thought of as beyond the 3 gunas, then it is called the attributeless reality, Nirguna Brahman, beyond speech and thought. This is the supreme Brahman, Para-Brahman. Under the spell of God's Maya, man forgets his true nature. He forgets that he is heir to the infinite glories of his Father. This divine Maya is made up of 3 gunas, and all 3 are robbers, for they rob man of all his treasures and make him forget his true nature. The 3 gunas are sattva, rajas, and tamas. Of these, sattva alone points the way to God, but even sattva cannot take a man to God. Let me tell you a story. Once a rich man was passing through a forest when 3 robbers surrounded him and robbed him of all his wealth. After snatching all his possessions from him, one of the robbers said, "What's the good of keeping the man alive? Kill him." Saying this, he was about to strike their victim with his sword, when the second robber interrupted and said, "There's no use in killing him. Let us bind him fast and leave him here. Then he won't be able to tell the police." Accordingly, the robbers tied him with a rope, left him, and went away. After a while, the third robber returned to the rich man and said, "Ah, you're badly hurt, aren't you? Come, I'm going to release you." The third robber set the man free and led him out of the forest. When they came near the highway, the robber said, "Follow this road and you will reach home easily." "But you must come with me too," said the man. "You have done so much for me. We shall all be happy to see you at our home." "No," said the robber. "It is not possible for me to go there. The police will arrest me." So saying, he left the rich man after pointing out his way. Now the first robber, who said, "What's the good of keeping this man alive? Kill him," is tamas. It destroys. The second robber is rajas, which binds a man to the world and entangles him in a variety of activities. Rajas makes him forget God. Sattva alone shows the way to God. It produces virtues like compassion, righteousness, and devotion. Again, sattva is like the last step of the stairs. Next to it is the roof. The supreme Brahman is man's own abode. One cannot attain the knowledge of Brahman unless one transcends the 3 gunas. Preacher: You have given us a fine talk, sir. Master with a smile: Do you know the nature of devotees? When one devotee meets another, he says, "Let me speak and you listen, and when you speak, I shall listen. You are a preacher and teach so many people. You are a steamship and I'm a mere fishing boat." All laugh. And that's the end of that day. Any questions or comments on this? I think it's worthy of rereading. There was a lot of information there. Okay, tomorrow's lecture will be by Father Cashin Duraco from St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Minnesota at any rate. He'll be giving the talk, and it is spiritual friendship. Then next Wednesday, we will have the spiritual treasures. Next Saturday, I'm not sure we'll be having the gospel reading. It's the Kali Immersion Day, and I'm not sure we'll be home by 5, hopefully. But, yeah. I will say we will have it at 5. Okay. We'll end with a chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.